Welcome again to the Business and AI podcast. Today we'll be exploring chapter 9 of Computing in the Age of AI by Michael Ian and Karim Lakhani. This chapter is titled The New Meta, and it dives into how AI networks and digital platforms are transforming the very rules of competition across industries, societies, and economies. Let's start by talking about the redefining of competitive rules. The authors argue that AI isn't just reshaping industries, it's redefining the rules of competition entirely. Traditional frameworks focused on market shares, cost efficiency, and incremental improvements. But with AI, data networks enable constant learning and adaptation, challenging firms to rethink their operations and competitive strategies. According to the authors, the new rules of competitive center on ecosystems and data driven innovation rather than single products or services. Success in this era would now depend on orchestrating networks, gathering data, and fostering continuous improvements where learning speed becomes a core advantage. One of the most significant shifts discussed is the rise of universal platforms that cut across industry boundaries. Companies like Amazon and Tencent exemplify this model by integrating e commerce, cloud services, and entertainment within a single platform. The authors highlight how digital universality is replacing traditional specialization as these platforms leverage data and AI to create scalable cross industry ecosystems. The message is clear. Firms can no longer think in industrial silos. To remain competitive, they must position themselves within broader digital networks that transcend traditional boundaries. This chapter explores how learning loops fueled by data have become central to competitive advantage. By continuously gathering and analyzing data, companies can fine tune their products and services in real time. The authors use Netflix as an example, where recommendation algorithms improve with every interaction, creating highly personalized experiences that keep users engaged. This model extends beyond entertainment. Firms that prioritize continuous learning can adapt more quickly to market shifts, making them more resilient and agile. Now, let's talk more about the new governance models for a digital age. The companies, not the companies, the authors argue that traditional governance structures are insufficient for managing digital ecosystems. AI enabled companies require decentralized, collaborative governance and frameworks that balance innovation with accountability. Challenges like content moderation, data privacy, and user safety demand a governance model that is flexible and adaptable. For example, platforms like Facebook and Google face increasing scrutiny over their content policies and data practices, reflecting the need for updated governance frameworks. This shift highlights the broader societal impact of these platforms as they navigate public scrutiny and regulatory pressures. The authors emphasize the importance of public institutions in shaping this new competitive landscape. In an AI dominated economy, regulation is crucial for maintaining fair competition and protecting consumer interests. Governments need to establish policies that address AI specific challenges like algorithmic transparency and data privacy, like we spoke about in the last episode. Moreover, the authors call for public private collaboration as an essential strategy for navigating the digital age. They argue that governments must actively work with firms to develop policies that encourage innovation while safeguarding public interest. This chapter has successfully captured the monumental shifts brought by AI and digital networks. The authors do a compelling job, if you ask me, of describing how universal platforms like Amazon and Tencent disrupt traditional industry boundaries, urging firms to rethink their competitive strategies. The focus on learning loops as a competitive advantage is particularly relevant, especially in industries where real time data can drive substantial improvements. The recommendation for public private collaboration is timely, and this aligns with current trends in tech regulation. The author's call for updated governance model is another highlight as it shows an awareness of the challenges digital platforms face with content moderation, data privacy, and regulatory scrutiny. These recommendations provide leaders with valuable insights for reimagining their organizations. However, while this chapter offers insightful guidance, some suggestions lack the practical details needed for implementation. For instance, expanding into multiple industries is far more complex than the text suggests. Not all companies have the resources or the risk tolerance to diversify like Amazon or Tencent. I hope you remember this. And the author could provide more realistic strategies for firms with limited resources. Similarly, while the importance of continuous learning is clear, the chapter could further discuss how companies can effectively integrate the learning loops. For traditional firms or those without a tech focused infrastructure, setting up data driven feedback systems isn't a straightforward process. Additional examples of how smaller firms successfully adopt learning loops would make the advice more accessible. The emphasis on public private collaboration is commendable, but the potential conflicts of interest are not fully addressed. Often, companies prioritize shareholders' value over public good, which can complicate a partnership, or in fact, it can complicate partnership with governments also. This complexity is kind of overlooked, and a discussion of how to navigate these conflicts would have enhanced this chapter. The new rules of competition laid out here are incredibly relevant, especially for business leaders navigating today's fast paced digital economy. Many firms, regardless of size, can benefit from adopting an ecosystem mindset, integrating data driven learning into their processes, and understanding the shifting regulatory landscape. In particular, the insights on universal platforms and continuous learning apply to any company looking to leverage data for better decision making. As AI continues to reshape competitive dynamics, staying agile and embracing a learning oriented culture will be essential. For leaders and professionals, this chapter highlights the importance of thinking beyond industry boundaries. Begin by evaluating your organization's ecosystem. How can you partner with other firms to create more value? Additionally, prioritize building data feedback loops for continuous learning. Even if you start small, identify metrics that can provide actionable insights and establish a regular review process. Getting to reflection questions for today, I want us to think about the first question, which would be: how can your organization prepare for and contribute to a regulatory framework that supports ethical AI usage? That's the first one. And the second question would for today would be, are there industry boundaries you could cross to expand your company's reach and impact? So, thank you for joining us today on today's episode of the Business and AI podcast. We have examined the new rules of competition in the digital age. I hope you subscribe to this channel, and we'll meet in the next episode where we'll talk about chapter 10, which is actually the last chapter for this book. We'll talk about chapter 10, dissect it, criticize it, ask relevant questions, think of how we can apply it. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.